initially, I started work at Teach for India in 2010. 10, I started teaching grade 2 students in a government school in Pune. That was my first exposure to low income communities. From there, I also worked in rural Maharashtra and urban slums in Delhi. And one thing that I saw, which was constant, was the lack of information awareness that the citizens had in terms of the government schemes and benefits. And in the initial few years, I also realized that, government, as we all know, is the largest funder in terms of all the benefits and schemes that are there. So this gap is something that I saw that can be a great enabler if we can bridge this gap. And that's how Hagdarshak, the idea started. Initially, I started just as an honestly experimental platform, thinking that we could create a simple information tool which can enhance the reach of all the entire information that is there in terms of schemes. But gradually, I realized after a few pilots, this was in 2014, early 2014, that just information isn't enough. We also need to add the component of last mile service delivery. And that's how, from a non-profit model, we evolved it into a social enterprise model and registered it as a company in early 2016 Jan. So those 18 to 24 months is where we tried a lot of things, failed at a lot of things, tried different models, tried to build a business model where it could scale, because we also realized that if this kind of a solution has to scale pan India, then we have to think of very innovative and simple business solutions. Because if you look at it, in India there are 100 crore people eligible for some scheme or the other, right? So just the volume and the scale of this is massive. So that's how the entire idea started in terms of using a more local language kind of a name. And yeah, I think with my co-founder PR Ganapathy, we just came up with this name of using Haq, which Haq was something we were very pushed in terms of getting people their rights, and that was the main idea behind it, than the information. And then I think just to ensure that we are also adding the component of service delivery and getting people the benefits, we coined it Hagdarshak. So I mean, if you think back these things, that was something we just put together. We also obviously looked at multiple legal things, because initially when you're trying to get a name, you have to check whether you have this legal name available. Luckily for us, we were initially thinking Hagdarshak could be a brand name and we'll have to name it some other thing legally. But luckily for us, nobody had taken up Hagdarshak, so we could use it. So that's how it came about. And I just think it's helped us kind of really get the message across on the ground. So we've always focused on a product first approach. So the product essentially is a rules engine which matches the profile of the citizens to the schemes on the cloud. And we have a research team, Pan India, which is in every state, which digitizes these schemes in local languages. So we have 7,000 plus schemes today in 15 local languages. So because of the initial couple of years, we actually didn't do much operations. The whole process was focused on building the technology, testing it out. Does it work? Is it accurate? So today we can say our rules engine is 100% accurate. If you're going to put in your correct information, it will tell you exactly what you're eligible for. And because of that product first approach, getting that data, processing it, ensuring that it fits into the guidelines of data security and data safety as per the government guidelines, all these things have been our first focus, in fact. So that's how we've been able to kind of really ensure that this vast amount of data that we have is actually utilized for citizens to get them, and only focused on schemes. So we also make it very clear to all our partners that we are only working with this data on government scheme implementation. But yeah, I think overall, like I said, because we were with a product first approach from the beginning, we were able to ensure that this entire database is scalable. In India, an end-to-end technology solution actually doesn't work for the people at the bottom of the pyramid. We need to have assisted tech models. So build technology, but build technology for people who can use it in the community. So that's how we came up with this service delivery model of training entrepreneurs in the community. Initially, we started with male entrepreneurs because obviously their ability to travel, their ability to go out of the house for jobs is more in our society. Women have had less access because of societal issues, patriarchal issues, to venture out of their homes. But I think that didn't work, both in terms of economical issues and business process issues. Men tend to take up the next big job, and our model gives an earning of 3 to 5,000 rupees a month for a rural entrepreneur. So in late 2017, we pivoted the entire model to only focus on women entrepreneurs. After a lot of third-party evaluations on the program from Acumen, Omidyar, and a bunch of others, philanthropists in the ecosystem, we realized that women entrepreneurship makes a lot of sense, both in terms of the social impact, economic returns, and scalability. Because there are 72 million women enrolled in self-help groups and 6 million self-help groups in India. So we thought that that's a great channel for us in rural India to train one woman per village, make it a very simple, usable, local language content technology, which we had. So that's how the last mile service delivery model happened. And today, to become an entrepreneur, you don't need to know English. English is not a barrier. So you need to know your local language. You can be fifth to sixth standard educated. You need to own your own smartphone. So that is an investment we expect from the entrepreneur. And other than that, we then ensure that there is an assessment certification program, and then their handholding is done to ensure that they get certified as a Hagdarshak entrepreneur. We today have trained over 6,000 women as entrepreneurs, out of which around 2,000 are active as of now. There was a drop off due to COVID that we had, but usually we have about a 50% active rate. And some of the women entrepreneurs now have been working with us for now close to 3 years. And the average median income is about 3,600 rupees a month, with some women top 10% also earning upwards of 15,000. And the bottom 10% also earning about 500 to 600 rupees a month. So we've been able to prove the model. We are also working in collaboration with a few state governments as well now. And I think now we are well poised to kind of scale it up. And our goal in the next 4 to 5 years is to train 100,000 women entrepreneurs with a 50 to 60% active. I think the two big challenges that you have is hiring, and then fundraising to ensure that you can do quality hiring. So because it's your team which executes everything. So I think those two main challenges that even I faced early on. We were very lucky to have very generous supporters and people who really believed in the solution, realized that this is a problem worth solving. So we had very great backers in the initially, some individual supporters and investors, and then Tata Trust, Pradhan as a partner, Save the Children, like some of the large organizations in India who really took a chance on us very early on in our first year itself. So like I said, we were very lucky. And also, I think we did well in the first couple of years in implementing and executing the projects very well. So what we did realize was that entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship is the way to do the last mile service delivery. But we also need to focus on the B2B partnerships as a revenue and scalable model. So today we partner with NGOs, philanthropies, platforms like CSRBOX. We have corporate partners like Uber and international organizations also. So essentially there we do a B2B service delivery model also. To give you an example, we work with Uber, for example, to help their drivers get access to schemes. We work with construction companies to get construction workers access to schemes, factory workers. So this becomes a important ROI in terms of social impact, but also is a very important business growth tool for these companies as well. Because if the workers have social security, the chances of their retention, better productivity is way, way higher. So that's how we've been able to kind of de-risk the model by not only focusing on entrepreneurship, but also linking it very closely to the B2B partnerships. This has also happened in the last 2 years and has helped us really scale much faster. mean, the space we are in as Hagdarshak is a unique space because as service providers, as an enterprise, we actually have no control over the supply. Like we can't control which scheme is there. We can't control the product, which is essentially to be in a very, very unique position. So I think, and government in India, how schemes are structured is it's a central and state government relationship. You can have the best intention scheme rolled out, but unless a state government really wants to implement it, it won't get implemented. To give you an example, Ayushman Bharat today doesn't get implemented in West Bengal, which is the health insurance scheme, because the West Bengal and the central government are not aligned. Similarly, for the longest period, Ujjwala scheme was not implemented in Orissa. It only started getting implemented in 2019 post elections. So elections, budgets, things like even COVID impact this scheme scenario a lot in terms of the overall implementation. For us, I think it is very, very we are, like I said, we are in that unique position where we need to ensure that we work very closely with government, but at the same time we are not dependent on revenues with government. We have realized that as a young enterprise, till we reach a certain scale, it is not possible for us to be dependent or build our own strategy or whole strategy around government funding. We do have some government contracts, and we've been very lucky from year one. Every year we do work on one or two government contracts. We have a continuous partnership with the Rajasthan government. We also have partnerships in the past with Maharashtra government and MP government, Chhattisgarh government. So across political parties, we are politically agnostic as a company. So we've had, but more, we are also now pitching in a lot of non-commercial MOUs with governments where we are looking at their support. And like you rightly said, our model, the government IS officers, elected representatives have been very supportive of our model, because they also want citizens to get access to schemes for their own goals, for their own benefits as well, and for the larger good. We do face resistance at the village level, at the community level, from the clerical side in terms of the government bureaucracy, because we are making the system more transparent, and those obstacles are being removed. But I think from the top-down approach, we are getting a lot of support. We are majorly focused on low-income groups, both in urban and rural. So we have operations even in urban metros and slums in Delhi, Bombay, Pune, Bangalore, with partners. Major focus is that. For that, we have the entrepreneur model. The second is for citizens like you and me, who are in the middle income, upper middle income category in India, where they can today download our Hagdarshak app on Play Store on their Android phones and actually screen themselves for any service, for whether it's a passport service, Aadhaar, PAN card, the kind of services that usually citizens need as convenience. And they can, in terms of their house helps or drivers or office people, who they can get, then screen them and get them the information. And then as a team, wherever possible, we ensure that we can give them access to the last mile service. And the third category that we've recently started is also for MSMEs. So all kinds of micro and medium, even big businesses. We are partnering with DBS Bank. We are partnering with a lot of government entities. We've recently started this in August, but we're already getting huge traction, because as a percentage, 80% of government funding is for MSMEs and micro businesses. And whether it's a 1 lakh turnover micro business in rural India, or it's a 100 crore turnover medium or large scale enterprise in urban India, there is very little information on what kind of government documentation is required to get access to government subsidy and schemes. So just replicating the citizen model there, we've been able to build the similar rules engine, digitize schemes, create MSME entrepreneur agents, and deliver. So that will also cater majorly to the lower middle income category, as business owners, sole proprietors, kirana stores. We're already doing a large campaign with 10,000 plus street vendors across the country and getting them access to the Swanidhi scheme, which gives them access to 10,000 rupees of credit. So we recently launched that campaign during Dan Utsav on October 2nd. And so these are some of the last two initiatives are more catered towards the lower middle income category. Whereas our primary focus remains to the bottom 30% population of India. with our entrepreneur model. Recently, we've added Nagaland, and now we are operational in 20 states and 63 districts across the country, with 5 urban metro cities as well. We are now doing about 75,000 applications a month as a company. We were at 5,000 applications a month this time last year. And our goal is to reach about 5 lakh applications a month by next year this time. Overall, we have so far done close to now 6 lakh applications, which we will reach, I think, by the end of this month. Out of which 60% have got benefits. So about 3.5 to 4 lakh citizens have got benefits from schemes. The remaining are not rejected. The remaining are in the pipeline, because in government you are on the wait list of certain schemes. Your documents need verification. But we track each and everything. So all our partnerships are outcome based, data driven. So we can exactly, that's why we are very exact with the data figures in terms of how many people got benefits. The two interesting things happening in the ecosystem as we speak, and I think you and your team would are actually in the middle of the ecosystem, talking to so many people across the board. So you would know this better than anyone, that while the need is increasing, and I think the social sector, NGO, CSO, social enterprises, even private limited CSR have stepped up during COVID, post COVID, with strategies, implementation. Unfortunately, the funding in the ecosystem is drying up. Whether it is CSR, whether it's the PM Care that has been set up, or now the FCRA regulations, which will really impact the grassroots organizations and NGOs specifically. I mean, it may not directly impact us as a private limited, but I think we do see, because we work with a lot of NGOs, we work with 100 plus grassroots organizations in training them, training their cadres, training them through different partnerships, because we see that's the only way to scale in India. So I think it's an opportunity in a way for all enterprises, entrepreneurs, because of the massive problem that we are looking at: social security, gig economy workers, blue collar job workers, migrant workers. At the same time, I think we'll have to be very innovative in terms of how we look at business models. So that's where I think we've spent a lot of resources, time, effort on our product. So like I said, we have our agent entrepreneur app now and platform. We have a citizen app on Play Store. We have the MSME platform and app. So we are continuously investing about 30+% of our revenues and capex on R&D product, because we see that that's the future for the next 5 to 10 years. And we need to move to a model where we are lesser and lesser dependent on B2B funding, and more and more in a direct customer approach. In the past, in the last 20 years, the fintech MFI model has shown that whatever innovations are not mainstream at a certain time can become mainstream if there is adoption. And we feel where we are as Hagdarshak in what I would like to call civic tech will become more mainstream in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's from the resource side. I think overall our goal is to reach 1 crore citizens and 1 lakh businesses by 2024. And by training 100,000 women in the next 4 years. That's the big goal right now. And I think we are on track right now, but it'll depend on how the ecosystem also evolves. So we are also very open to being very agile for partnerships and seeing how the government plus financial services markets respond.